Modern Indian paintings. Company style of paintings meaning and origin during the later part of the 18th century, the British East India Company had firmly established its political dominion in India. A large number of employees of the East India Company arrived in India, and as they accommodate themselves here, they came across the vivid indigenous culture and life. They wanted to capture the images to send or take back home, and thus they gradually became the new patrons of the Indian art. These new patrons wanted that the artists depict Indian life and scenes but in a medium of their own liking. Thus, a synthetic style was born in which the Indian artists imitated the English style of paintings. The first region in India to saw the emergence of such style was the Madras Presidency. The work accomplished by the Indian artists was in a European style and palette, and this new Indo-European genre of painting known as the company style. In Hindi, it is called Company Kalam. The British set up schools in the major cities such as Bombay, Calcutta and Madras in order to train the Indian artists in Western techniques. Artists who graduated from these schools and or those who deployed the techniques taught in these schools were called company school artists. Salient features. Company style is a hybrid Indo-European style of paintings. Combination of traditional elements from Rajput and Mughal painting blended with Western treatment. Paintings reflecting the Indian miniature tradition were usually small, while those portraying the natural history paintings of plants and birds were significantly large. The subjects included landscapes and views of nature monuments. The Delhi paintings specially had Mughal monuments as subject matter. Indian people, dancers, fairs and festivals, and costumes. Figures of different castes and trades. Architectural subjects, usually done in a detailed and frontal style more like that of an architectural draftsman than the romanticized style used by most European painters visiting India. Some animal or plant subjects, some erotic subjects, also included. Techniques. The technique varied, but mostly was drawn upon Western watercolor technique, from which transparency of texture, soft tones, and modeling in broad strokes were borrowed from West. Paper was mostly used for these paintings. Ivory was also used. They were mostly intended to be kept in portfolios or albums. The muraka or album was very well established among Indian collectors, though usually including calligraphy as well, at least in Muslim examples. Growth of the style. First region to produce what is called company painting to cater to the tastes of the Westerners and of Indians who were acquiring these tastes was the Madras Presidency. Moreover, the Tanjore artists were the first to experiment with the new style. At the same time, as the political clout of East India Company grew, a number of centers arose. Each of them was heavily influenced by the local traditions. The most important early production center was Calcutta. Here the main patrons of the art were Lord MP, Chief Justice of the High Court, and Lord Wellesley, Governor-General. We have been told that they were especially interested in the animal and plant life. They hired artists to paint the birds and animals, including those at the Botanical Garden at Calcutta. By the time Wellesley retired in 1813, some 2,542 paintings had been assembled. Major centers apart from Calcutta and Madras, the other major centers were Patna, Banaras and later Delhi. The subjects of the Delhi paintings were the splendid Mughal monuments. Delhi company-style painting is also special, as the artists here used the ivory as base for paintings. Famous artists: Sevakram, c. 1770-c. 1830. Sevakram was a well-established company painter in Patna. It's worth note that some other prominent artists such as Shivlal, Hulas Lal, Jhumak Lal, Fakir Chand and Jai Ram Das lived in Patna, and they had such a fame that some people call their paintings belonging to the Patna school. However, calling it a Patna school was incorrect for many others. Patna was a great center of the company paintings because it hosted many expatriates of the East India Company due to location of an important factory as well as provincial committee. Ghulam Ali Khan, the latter Delhi genre of company paintings, is represented in the work of artist Ghulam Ali Khan and his colleagues. He is known for various scenes of village life. He and his team were masters in making portraits. Decline of company school of paintings. The company style of paintings was not a pan-India phenomenon. This style developed in some cities only, which had any of the following qualities. These cities had monuments and an inflow of foreign officials or tourists. These cities had expatriates from England. The above statement implies that the company style did not develop in regions such as Rajasthan, Punjab Hills, and Hyderabad, which were home to the local traditions. At the same time, it cannot be negated that the influence of British colonialism had profound impact on Indian arts, which was visible in the deterioration of the above painting styles. In the early 19th century, this art was at its peak, and its production was at a considerable level, with many of the cheaper paintings being copied by rote. By third and fourth decades of 19th century, many artists had shops to sell the work and workshops to produce it. However, later, the style was subject to the competition with other styles and photography. The worst blow to the company-style paintings was given by the advent of photography in early 1840s. But the style did survive till 20th century. Ishwari Prasad, Patna, who died in 1950, is believed to be the last notable exponent of company-style paintings. Paintings of Raja Ravi Verma. The introduction of the company style in the 18th and 19th centuries by the art schools the Indian artist created works of art that were British in style but Indian in content. The discussion about the company style makes it clear that the artists painted in an Indo-European style using Western linear perspective, shading, and English watercolors. This was seen as a degeneration and threat for Indian traditional art. Here, we find the most celebrated painter of 19th century, Raja Ravi Verma, 1848 to 1906, who tried to re-establish Indian art through Western methods and technique. Raja Ravi Verma hailed from the princely state of Travancore and is best known for depiction of scenes from Indian mythology and epics. Important paintings of Raja Ravi Verma. Shakuntala Ravi Verma is particularly noted for his paintings depicting episodes from the story of Dushyanta and Shakuntala, and Nala and Damayanti from the Mahabharata. In this most famous painting of his, Shakuntala pretends to remove a thorn from her foot, while actually looking for Dushyanta, while her friends call her bluff. Hamsa Damayanti, the story of Nala and Damayanti, is a very interesting story as told in Mahabharata. Jatayu Vadham. Jatayu was the son of Aruva and nephew of Garuda, a demigod in form of a vulture. He was an old friend of Dashratha, and he unsuccessfully tried to rescue Sita from Ravana when Ravana was on his way to Lanka after kidnapping Sita. It has been vividly depicted by Raja Ravi Verma. Draupadi. In this famous painting, Raja Ravi Verma depicts Draupadi, the common wife of Pandavas, not happy to carry beverages to Kichaka, the army commander of Matsya, during the 1 year of Agyatva hiding. Later Bhima killed him with bare hands when he disguised as Malini, Draupadi, and inserted himself in the bed of Kichaka. Other paintings. The first picture printed at Verma's press is said to be the birth of Shakuntala. This was followed by an array of images of gods from the Hindu pantheon, including Lakshmi, Saraswati, Ganpati, and Vishnu and his avatars such as Rama and Krishna. Other images included those of revered gurus and saints such as Adi Shankaracharya and Vaishnava Guru. There were also extensive series of oleographs representing women figures from Hindu mythology such as Draupadi, Damayanti, Menka, Shakuntala, and Rambha. Woman holding a fan village, Bele lady lost, in thought the orchestra, Arjuna, and Subhadra the heartbroken swarbat player Shakuntala Lord Krishna as ambassador victory of Indrajit a family of beggars, a lady playing swarbat lady giving alms, at the temple Lord Rama conquers, Varuna Nair woman Maharashtrian lady romancing couple Shantanu, and Matsyagandha Shakuntala composing a love letter to King Dushyanta. Girl in Sage Kanva's Hermitage, Rishikanya, salient features of paintings of Raja Ravi Verma. His iconic and figural portraits of Indian women, mythological gods, royal life, literary figures, and national heroes and heroines were an amalgamation of the European realism, technique, and material but were Indian in subject as well as narration. While the company style is known for extensive use of the English watercolors, Raja Ravi Verma modified the European style of perspective and composition with the Indian iconography and used oil painting. The oil painting was an inexpensive technology, and coupled with Raja Ravi Verma's oleographs, his paintings gained immense popularity due to their mass production and cheap prices. Due to mass production of his work, the poor could also afford his work. Oleography refers to the method of reproducing an oil painting on paper in such a manner that the exact colors and brush strokes textures are duplicated. It is also called lithoprinting, stone printing, and requires as many lithostones as there are colors and tones in a painting. Raja Ravi Verma started his lithographic press in 1894 in Bombay. Until the Raja Ravi Verma used oleography in his prints, it was used for gaudy calendar art and commodity packaging. Raja Ravi Verma is also known to have launched the popular painting industry in India. He was highly encouraged by his patrons and the demand for his work, and obviously earnings was such that he was able to establish India's first chromolithographic press in Bombay in 1891. He initially learnt the painting from his uncle Raja Verma. His early work seems to be in company style, but in the due course of time, he mastered the Western art of oil painting and realistic life study. The scene after scene he created on the canvas were those which he witnessed during the theatrical performances of Ramayana and Mahabharata during the tour of the Bombay Presidency. In the later years of the 19th century, his paintings were so much liked by the Indian princes and art collectors that these patrons filled their palace galleries with the works of Raja Ravi Verma. Raja Ravi Verma can be called India's first modern artist, first Indian artist to master perspective and the use of the oil medium, probably first to use human models to illustrate Hindu gods and goddesses on a wide scale, and first Indian artist to become widely famous. His works were accessible to the common man because of his venture of printing and distributing the oleographs. Around the same time, Calcutta rose as a hub of political as well as cultural activities. By now, the print medium had also become the ideal channel for the wide circulation of images and ideas to the public. Apart from Calcutta, Bombay and Pune emerged as two major centers for mass print production. The mass printing of the Ramayana and Mahabharata images of Raja Ravi Verma helped the art to reach every nook and corner of the country, thus helped to forge a national identity in modern India. Thus, the paintings of Raja Ravi Verma created a culture that was need of the hour for a very diverse country like India. On the basis of this argument, we can call Raja Ravi Verma's paintings as national. Evaluation of contribution by Raja Ravi Verma Raja Ravi Verma tried to re-establish the Indian art through Western styles and technique. His subject was Indian mythology, epics and Puranas. He was one of the first to do a mass production of the paintings, so his paintings were cheap in cost but were able to reach to the common man. This affordable art is something which makes him very near to the stature of a national painter. Due to use of Indian mythology and realism, he became very popular artist. But his critics, particularly the doyens of the Bengal school of art, alleged that his paintings were of bad taste. Raja Ravi Verma was basically a link between the New Bengal movement and the company art. If we view it from the perspective of Bengal school of art, it was not a national. But if we view the spread of his work, we can say that his work created a national identity in India at a time when Mother India was in dire need of such identity. Bengal School of Art. In Bengal, a new group of nationalist artists gathered around Abnendana Tagore, 1871 to 1951. Abnendana Tagore was a nephew of Rabindranath Tagore. This new group of painters rejected the art of Raja Ravi Verma as imitative and westernized. They declared that such a style was unsuitable for depicting the nation's ancient myths and legends. This group felt that a genuine Indian style of painting must draw the inspiration from the non-Western art tradition and should try to capture the spiritual essence of the East. So, these artists started doing experiments. They did the following things. They broke away from the tradition of oil painting. They broke away from the realistic style of Raja Ravi Verma and company artists. They turned to the inspiration to medieval Indian traditions of the miniature paintings and ancient art of mural paintings in Ajanta caves. The paintings of Ajanta and Bagh, Mughal, Rajput and Pahari miniatures provided the models. The continuity of earlier traditions was sought to be maintained by borrowing from legends and classical literature like the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, Gita, and Puranas, the writings of Kalidasa and Omar Khayyam. At the same time, these artists were also influenced by the art of the Japanese artists who visited India at the time to develop an Asian art movement. The initial artists are known for borrowing in profusion from Chinese calligraphy, Japanese coloring and Persian finish. The above experiments, called avant-garde in artists' parlance, led to the development of the Bengal school of art. Avant-garde refers to the people or works that are experimental or innovative, particularly with respect to art, culture, and politics. One more immediate reason of rise of such artists was the widespread influence of the Indian spiritual idea to West. The pilots of this school were Ernest Binfield Havell and Abnendana Tagore. The other artists of this group were Gagne Tagore, Asit Kumar Haldar, N.A.R. Chugtai, Suneni Devi, sister of Abnendana Tagore, Kshitindranath Majumdar, Nandlal Bose, Kalipara Ghoshal, Sughra Rabbi, and Sudhir Khastagir. Salient features of the Bengal School of Art. Bengal School in painting was called the Renaissance School, as well as the Revivalist School, because this movement endeavored for revival of the Indian ancient and medieval traditions. However, it is sometimes criticized because it took art back to the subject matter of ancient periods in an imitative manner, without much creativity. The paintings were simple and standard paintings with attractive color scheme technique. Bright colors were not used in such paintings. The Bengal painters have made best possible efforts to bring in the rhythm, linear gracefulness, and poise of Ajanta in their painting. Influence of Mughal and Rajasthan school can also be seen. Elegant and refined figures, and the paintings exhibited skillfully exposed light and shade without any hardness. The artistic creed of this school was gradually challenged, and new developments came about. A genuinely individual search for content and form led to a successful synthesis of Indian and European techniques. E.B. Havel, the art traditions of India witnessed a steady decline in the 19th century, and Bengal was not too isolated to the deterioration. What could survive during those times were only the Kalighat folk paintings. In 1854, the Calcutta School of Art came into existence. Here, E.B. Havel, head of the Calcutta School of Art, set for himself the twofold task of propagating a truer appreciation abroad of India's cultural heritage and of weaning young Indians from indiscriminate admiration of Western art, especially its decadent and uninspiring products. In this, he was helped by Dr. A.K. Kumaraswamy and Abnendana Tagore. While Dr. Kumaraswamy rendered invaluable service in interpreting and popularizing our artistic heritage, the Indian Society of Oriental Art under Abnendranath's patronage helped to free young artists who had allowed them to be hypnotized the West from its spell. Abhinandranath Tagore. Abhinandranath Tagore, 1871 to 1951, was a nephew of Rabindranath Tagore. He was born at Jorsanko and was educated at the Sanskrit College, Calcutta. He learned painting privately under English and Italian instructors. He led the revivalist movement in Bengal in the field of modern Indian paintings with the help of a band of disciples such as Nandlal Bose, A.K. Halder, K.N. Majumdar, S.N. Gupta, and a host of others. The first major exponent of Swadeshi values in Indian art, he is known to have founded the Bengal School of Art or Neo-Bengal School. He was also a noted writer and known as Aban Thakur. In the realm of painting, Abnendranath Tagore and Nandlal Bose are known to have expressed the nationalist ethos. Contribution of Abhinandranath Tagore in Indian paintings. He was of the belief that the Western art was materialistic in character and India needed to return to its own traditions to recover the spiritual values in the art. Abnendana Tagore's works reflect the synthesis of Ajanta, murals and Mughal painting. Essentially, a romantic painter, he delighted in painting the hoary past. He, along with his disciples Viz. Nandalal Bose and Ashit Kumar Haldar, are said to be the Pre-Raphaelites of Bengal. Pre-Raphaelites refer to a group of reformer English painters, poets, and critics who came together and tried to reform art by rejecting what it considered the mechanistic approach first adopted by Mannerist artists. In those times, the Hindu philosophy was becoming more and more influencing in the West. Taking clue from that, Abnendana Tagore believed that Indian traditions could be adapted to express these new values and to promote a progressive Indian national culture. The first major work accomplished by him was Arabian Nights series, 1930. His later works show the influence of Chinese and Japanese calligraphic traditions. Famous paintings are Bharat Mata, The Passing of Shah Jahan, 1900, My Mother, 1912, 13, Fairyland Illustration, 1913, Journey's End, Circa 1913, Abnendana Tagore, and Bharat Mata. Abnendana Tagore portrayed Bharat Macron, 1905, as a four-armed Hindu goddess wearing saffron-colored robes, holding a book, sheaves of rice, a mala, and a white cloth. The image of Bharat Mata was an icon to create nationalist feeling in Indians during the freedom struggle. The image was imaginative, with Bharat Mata standing on green earth and blue sky behind her, feet with four lotuses, four arms meaning divine power, white halo and sincere eyes. The historical context in which Abnendanath painted Bharat Mata was the Swadeshi movement sparked off in 1905 around the partition of Bengal. This image does not incorporate the map of India. Instead, it had followed the protocols of the emergent Neo-Bengal revivalist style of depicting the female form as ethereal and austere. She has four arms, which to Indian thinking denote the divine power. The Shiksha, Diksha, Anna, Bastra, these are the four gifts of the motherland which she has been depicted as offering with her four hands. Though she has been painted as a common Bengali woman, her divine stature is most obvious from her four arms and the delicate halo that rings her head. The impact of this painting was that Bharat Mata became the new deity of the country, even if she was first named Banga Mata and later was renamed by him as Bharat Mata. Bharat Mata was used as a mobilizing artifact during the anti-partition processions. The critics appreciated as a new nationalist aesthetic. Sister Nivedita was such an admirer of this painting that she wanted to publish it in tens of thousands and scatter it all over the land so that there is not a peasant's cottage is left between Kedarnath to Cape Cameron that had not the presence of Bharat Mata somewhere on her walls. Japanese Artists and Neo-Bengal School. In February 1901, Josephine MacLeod, an American pupil of Swami Vivekananda, had invited Japanese arts stalwart Kakujo Okakura to India. Kakujo Okakura wished to invite Swami Vivekananda, who by that time had become world famous, to Japan. However, Swami Vivekananda passed away in 1902 itself. Kakujo Okakura came in touch with the Tagores during his stay in India. This was the beginning of India's cultural relations with modern Japan. This meeting had a lasting impact on Indian art. Contribution of Japanese artists. After Kakujo Okakura went back to Japan, he sent to Japanese artists Yokoyama Tekken and Hishida Shunso to India. These two artists taught the techniques of Japanese brushing works and watercolor wash to Abnendana and his elder brother Gagne Tagore. They learnt the technique and were free for innovating and modifying it to better suit their own needs. The technique was so much liked, appreciated and promoted by Abnendana Tagore that most of his students, who were later known as the artists of the Neo-Bengal School of Paintings, followed this practice. Contribution of Coke magazine. During the first decade of the 20th century, the Indian Society of Oriental Art brought out the exquisite color reproductions of original paintings by Abnendana Tagore, Surendranath Ganguly, Nandlal Bose, and other old masters of Mughal and Rajput art. The ISOA was helped by the expert technicians of the Japanese art periodical Coke, and the Japanese woodblock printing method was used as a technique. Coke, which literally means national essence, was an influential art magazine of East Asia and Japan. Nandlal Bose, 1882 to 1966, was a disciple of Abnendana Tagore. He became the principal of Kala Bhavan, Shanti Niketan in 1922. His paintings show the scenes from Indian mythologies, women, and village life. Here are some notable trivia on his contribution to Indian art. As a young artist, he was deeply influenced by the murals of the Ajanta caves and joined the band of artists who wished to revive classical Indian culture. To mark the 1930 occasion of Mahatma Gandhi's arrest for protesting the British tax on salt, Bose created a black-on-white linocut print of Gandhi walking with a staff. It became the iconic image for the non-violence movement. Nandlal Bose also originally painted the Indian flag, slightly different from its present form, and it was inspired by the freedom struggle. He became principal of the Kala Bhavan at Tagore's International University Santiniketan in 1922. He was also asked by Jawaharlal Nehru to sketch the emblems for the Government of India's awards, including the Bharat Ratna and the Padma Shri. He is also known to have taken up the task of beautifying the original manuscript of the Constitution of India. Most of his paintings have scenes from Indian mythologies, women, and village life. Due to influence of Rabindranath Tagore, he was invited to decorate the Congress sessions at Lucknow, Faizpur and Haripura. In the Faizpur session, the visual impact of his decorations pleased Gandhi very much, and he remarked in his opening address, if Gandhi was the redeemer of the village and Rabindranath its poet, no artist of India has revealed the soul of the village people as Nanda Babu. Nandalal Bose was awarded a prize of 500 rupees for his painting Shivasati in 1908. He was awarded the Padma Vibhushan in 1954. He became the second artist to be elected as Fellow of the Lalit Kala Akademi, India's National Academy of Art, in the year 1956. He was conferred the title of Deshikottama by the Vishwabharati University. He was honored with the Silver Jubilee Medal by the Academy of Fine Arts in Calcutta. In 1965, he was awarded the Tagore Birth Centenary Medal by the Asiatic Society of Bengal. His works have been kept in the National Gallery of Modern Art, Delhi, which includes Gandhiji's Dandi March and the 7 posters made for the Indian National Congress for the Haripura session in 1938. He expired in the year 1996. Gagnendranath Tagore. Gagnendranath Tagore was a great-grandson of Dwarkanath Tagore, a nephew of Rabindranath Tagore, and elder brother of Abnendanat Tagore. Like other Tagores, he was also involved in painting, theatre, reading and photography. But he is best known as a cartoonist who created political cartoons and social satires on westernized Bengalis. He was one of the most famous cartoonists of his times. Contribution to Indian art. Gagnendranath Tagore, along with his brother Abnendanath, is known for founding the Indian Society of Oriental Art in 1907. This society later brought out a journal called Rupam. He was inspired by the visiting Japanese artist Yokoyama Teiken and other Far Eastern styles early in his artistic life. He is said to be the first artist to explore with the French style of paintings in India. He also came under the influence of experimentalist art prevalent in Europe at that time and was allured towards geometric compositions. Thus, Gagnendranath, elder by 5 years to Abnendranath, shared his brother's enthusiasm for painting, but not revivalism. He was interested in near-contemporary experiments like Cubism. At the same time, their uncle Rabindranath Tagore committed to neither revivalism nor Cubism, and in fact, he came out to be the first truly modern Indian painter, while playing the role of a patron by providing to painters a studio, called Bichitra, at the ancestral Jorsanko house. Indian Society of Oriental Art. Gagnendranath Tagore, along with his brother Abnendanath, is known for founding the Indian Society of Oriental Art in 1907. This ISOA, sponsored by Europeans, much popularized Tagore's Bengal school, as well as art and crafts of other Asian nations. It held regular exhibitions in India and abroad, and came out with exquisite color reproductions of original paintings by Abnendana Tagore, Surendranath Ganguly, Nandlal Bose, and other old masters of Mughal and Rajput art. This society later brought out a journal called Rupam. Cubism is a school of paintings as well sculpture in which the viewpoints of natural forms are amalgamated with the multifaceted surface of geometrical planes, thus rendering the painting or sculpture non-objective. It was initiated in 1907 by Pablo Picasso, the Spanish painter and sculptor, 1881 to 1973, and Georges Braque, the French painter, 1882 to 1963. The adjacent image of a painting by Pablo Picasso is an example of Cubism. Cubism is known to have revolutionized European painting and sculpture, and inspired related movements in music, literature, and architecture. Cubism has been considered the most influential art movement of the 20th century. In Cubist artwork, objects are analyzed, broken up, and reassembled in an abstracted form. Instead of depicting objects from one viewpoint, the artist depicts the subject from a multitude of viewpoints to represent the subject in a greater context. Bichitra was the name of a studio, which was provided by Rabindranath Tagore to the painters, particularly his nephews Abnendana Tagore. Gagne Tagore of Bengal School of Art. It was located at the Jorsanko House, the ancestral home of the Tagores. What we know as Bichitra today is called the Rabindra Bhavan, a research center and museum where the Gurudev's personal belongings, paintings and various editions of his works are exhibited. This today's Bichitra has been designed by the Rabindranath Tagore's son Shamindranath Tagore. Asit Kumar Haldar, A.K. Haldar, 1890 to 1964, was a relative and one of the lieutenants of Rabindranath Tagore at Shantiniketan. His father as well as grandfather was painter. Haldar became the first Indian to be appointed as the principal of a government art school. He was also the first Indian to be elected a Fellow of the Royal Society of Arts, London in 1934. The Allahabad Museum opened a large Haldar Hall with many of his works in 1938. Contribution to Indian art between 1909 to 1911. Haldar visited Ajanta documenting the paintings and made efforts to bring the cave art to a wider Indian audience. A decade later, he undertook another expedition to the Bagh Caves. The art movement of Abnendanath Tagore succeeded to a great extent because of the assistance rendered by Asit Kumar Haldar, Nandlal Bose, and Surendranath Ganguly. As a principal of the Kala Bhavan School from 1911 to 1915, he introduced many different styles to art to the students and revolutionized decorative and ceremonial displays there. In 1923, he went on a study tour through England, France and Germany. On his return, He became principal of the Maharaja School of Arts and Crafts, Jaipur, where he remained for a year, before moving to the Maharaja School of Arts and Crafts in Lucknow. During the Europe tour, he found out that the realism in European art had numerous limitations. He sought to balance physical attributes in proportion to the magnitude of the subject matter. He remained a budding poet also throughout his life. In his book Ravi, he has acknowledged his debt to Rabindranath Tagore and Santiniketan in helping to establish him as an artist. Jamini Roy was born in 1887 Beliature, Bankura district, Bengal. He was one of the most famous pupils of Abnendana Tagore. He studied at the Government School of Art in Calcutta. He received his diploma in fine art in 1908. He was inspired by the living folks and tribal art forms. He was influenced by the Kalighat pat, a style of art with bold sweeping brush strokes. Between 1921 and 1924, he moved away from his earlier impressionist landscapes and portrait, and his first period of experimentation started with the Santhal dance. Contribution to Indian art. His painting style was a reaction against the Western tradition. His techniques as well as subject matter were influenced by traditional art of Bengal. Initially he experimented with Kalighat paintings, but found that it has ceased to be strictly a patua and went to learn from village patuas. His underlying quest was threefold: to capture the essence of simplicity embodied in the life of the folk people, to make art accessible to a wider section of people, and to give Indian art its own identity. He received a Viceroy's Gold Medal in an All India exhibition in 1934. He was awarded the Padma Bhushan by the Government of India in 1955. In 1955, he also became the first recipient of Lalit Kala Akademi Fellowship. He died in 1972. Ramkinkar Baij 1906 to 1980, was a powerful modern painter and sculptor, best known for his magnum opus Santhal family sculpture. Born in the Bankura district of West Bengal, Baij was a son of a village masus and barber. He came to Santiniketan on account of the skillful posters he painted during the non-cooperation movement. Here, he became another disciple of Nand Lal Bose, and then became one of the pioneers of modern Indian sculpture. He joined the Visva Bharati University at Santiniketan as a fine arts student. At Santiniketan, under the guidance of Nandlal Bose, his artistic skills and intellectual horizons acquired new depth and complexity. Contribution to sculpture. Santhal family. Initially, he started making sculptures which were innovative in subject matter and personal in style. His first magnum opus in this genre was the Santhal family done in 1938. Santhal family is widely considered to be the first public modernist sculpture in India. This sculpture depicts a mother, father, child and dog from the Santhal tribe, carrying their few possessions with them to a new life. It was made of cement cast and laterite pebbles. The artistic creations of Ramkinkar Baj have been inspired by the lifestyles of rural Dalit or Adivasi communities. Through his sculptures, he represented the tribal peasants of the region, giving the figures iconic presence and dignified grace that was so far limited to the images of gods and rulers. He took a great interest in human figures, body language, and in the general human drama. His main points of reference were modern Western art and pre- and post-classical Indian art. Regarding his work, he said, "I do not know whether what I am doing is modern or not, but it is based on my experience." Contribution to sculpture Yaksh and Yakshani on achieving independence. Jawaharlal Nehru had an idea that the public buildings, many of which were large imposing structures, could be utilized to encourage Indian artists to function in some way, and sculptors, painters, designers, etc. could be asked to cooperate. At that time, the RBI was in the process of contemplating new buildings at New Delhi, Madras and Nagpur. A committee was set up to examine the proposal and to make recommendations on the subject. This committee recommended that the sculptures could be erected on either side of the main entrance of the RBI office at New Delhi, one depicting the idea of prosperity through industry, and the other prosperity through agriculture. Then, the views of Karl Khandaravalla, an eminent critic and connoisseur of art, were sought. He suggested that RBI could consider having figures of Yaksh and Yakshani on the two sides. The artists were invited, and the proposal that was accepted was of Ram Kinkar Baj. The art form of the male Yaksh was drawn from the statue of the Parkham Yaksh in the Mathura Museum, and the art form of the female Yakshani was derived from Bisnagar Yakshani from the Calcutta Museum. This is how Ram Kinkar Baj became immortal with his Yaksh and Yakshani. His paintings too take on expressionist dimensions like his sculptures, which are filled with force and vitality. Legacy and awards. There is a book called Dekhi Nahi Fire based on Baj's life and work, written by Samresh Basu. In 1975, Ritvik Ghatak wisely made a documentary on Baj named Ramkinkar, where he featured him as a political icon. He was awarded Deshikoto by Visva Bharati University. In 1970, he was honored with Padma Bhushan by the Government of India. He died in 1980.